Hi, everybody. Um, Good to see you again. I really hope things are going to work fine today, since there seems to be some problem with the internet and possibly with Zoom itself, if I understand correctly. So let's hope it all works out. Really glad to see you. And please stay muted. That's one of the most important things I need to ask you to do. It's great to see your faces if it's comfortable for you, but as long as you stay muted, otherwise it causes all sorts of problems. So welcome to everybody again, and welcome to those watching perhaps in the future on YouTube. I couldn't connect to Facebook today because of the Zoom problems. But anyway, we're here to continue our series, What Makes Our Inner Work Work? And of course, what doesn't too. Now, I have lots of things that I can choose to talk about. And it's very difficult to decide what's more important and what's less important. But right now, I really try to see what comes up for me. And what came up for me during this past week, since we had our last meeting, was a dream from many years ago. I tried to find out exactly when I dreamt it. I couldn't figure it out for some reason. And yet it's a dream I remember very well, because it was one of the important dreams. I have many of those, but it was meaningful to me. And so I'll begin with telling you the dream. So in this dream, many years ago, I was going with my partner, possibly to London, where we were supposed to go on a ship of some sort with many other people, a group of people. And on our way to this trip on the boat, I'm very worried, or not very worried, but I'm concerned, because I've never been on a ship before. And I really don't know, what should I take with me? What do you bring on a ship? Do you take a sweater? What do you need? And so I'm a bit worried about that. And also, because I'm inexperienced in sailing in this dream, I'm also a bit worried about seasickness. I don't know if I'm prone to that or not. Do I have a tendency to be seasick? But anyway, we get to the ship, and the ship is docked at a riverside. Again, it's a kind of a city. I think it's London. And there's the meeting with all the passengers in the group. And we're meeting with a captain. And after the talk with the captain, in which I'm very, I stand at the side, and I'm not central in any way there. After meeting with the captain suggests that we all go for a drink before we sail in some pub. And everybody goes with the captain, except for me. For some reason, I don't go, and I'm the only one left on the ship. And then somehow the ship disconnects from the ropes holding it, or something like that, and it starts floating downstream on this river. Nothing controlling it, it simply flows downstream. And again, I'm the only one there, and I don't know what to do. I have no experience with ships whatsoever, needless to say, no experience sailing them. So I begin to search for the cabin from which the ship is steered or controlled, and that takes quite a while to find. And when I do find the place through which you control the ship, I somehow have to squeeze into it. It isn't easy to get into it. Finally, I manage to get into this control cabin, and from there I managed to contact the captain. That, as you recall, remained with everyone else back in London. So I call him and I tell him what happened, and he says, well, keep going, get to Calais, and then get the ship back here and pick us up. And of course, I'm shocked by the idea. You know, right now I'm floating downstream alone in a ship somehow. And the captain expects me to get the ship back upstream by myself when I've never even been on a ship before, let alone controlled it by myself. And this is more or less how the dream ended. Now, as usual, we all know that a dream can have many, many layers and meanings and contexts. We very often don't even understand all of them, even if we do work on the dream. And so there are probably many things that I won't discuss here. But what I did want to discuss is especially one aspect of this dream. So you're also welcome to, by the way, to write in the chat room if you have any ideas about this dream and why I may have chosen it or anything else that comes up for you. Please write it down, and we'll see how we discuss it together. So at the time I dreamt this dream, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know that I wasn't a clueless person at all. I was already doing my work, responsible, and stuff like that. And yet, of course, there's always the next stage that beckons us to grow and to transform into it. And in this dream, it's very, very clear, I think, that I was quickly moving from being completely clueless about ships, having no experience whatsoever, not even knowing what to bring on a ship or how I might feel on a ship, to being charged with a great responsibility to first get safely downstream to this mysterious Calais, and then back to pick up everyone else in the group, including the captain. Now, I must say that nowadays I see dreams not only as psychological, symbolic, etc. For me, at least some dreams are actual occurrences. They are experiences that have a reality of themselves. And of course, it doesn't mean that they don't have psychological repercussions or symbolic meanings and all sorts of other important things. So I see this dream mainly in this case as an experience of taking more responsibility and understanding that I'm called to be and to do much more than I thought I could be or I could do. And in this dream, I rapidly moved from being a worried, clueless tourist to being the only one who can captain the ship or pilot the ship and also help the others and pick them up. And I think, and I'd love to hear from you about it, that our journeys very often demand of us something or some things that we think we cannot do. And of course, we learn mainly by actually doing new things, just like I'm doing this series, which is a new thing for me. And through doing it, I'm getting the practice of doing it, and I'm growing into doing it. So we usually don't learn in theory, but in practice. And I think one of the things that happened to me through going through the experience of this dream was that I understood that I was being called to do more than I thought I could do and to take on more responsibility than I did till then, or that I thought I would be asked to take. And it's interesting because there was a period of a few years where I had all sorts of dreams that had something similar to this. For example, things would happen in my dreams like I would suddenly receive a call saying something like the doctor is sick, and you need to go to replace him. And I would say, but hey, I'm not a doctor. And usually nobody cared that I wasn't a doctor. I was just supposed to go and be the doctor. Or I would suddenly be informed that the opera singer is sick and I need to to go and on stage instead of her. And will I be willing to do that? Or things like a movie actress or something like that needed replacement. Things like that for me were, what's that got to do with me? And yet I would be called to do something like that. So that was a period, I think, in which I was getting the message little by little that, yes, what I'm doing right now is fine. I've grown, I've developed, I'm doing great stuff. And yet there's a call to grow even more and to take more responsibility for myself and also for others. As you recall from the dream, I need to manage to get the boat back and to pick them up, those that were left behind. So for me, it connects very much with taking responsibility for ourselves, first of all. Realizing that I am the driver, I am the navigator, I am the leader of myself, I am the coach, I'm the spiritual guide of my own life, I'm the whatever, the therapist. And of course, it doesn't mean that I can't get help from other people, but it's kind of realizing where the focal point is. And it is always me when I am responsible for whatever I choose to do and how I react to things and how I help myself heal, grow, transform, and so on and so forth. And for me, and this was the way it was for me from a very, very early stage, even if I was getting help from somebody, it was always somehow very clear, luckily for me, that I am the manager here. I was the leader of this, even if I was very young or very inexperienced in some ways. So I could get help without giving my power away and without giving my responsibility away. And this, I think, is really, really major for all of us, definitely not just for me. So I think even if somebody goes to, psychoanalysis 4 times a week, it's really, really important to manage somehow to stay with our hands on the wheel, and really do whatever it takes to stay like that. So I think in my life, and I hope this is useful for other people as well, I'd be glad to know, of course, I can see how my responsibility as a driver of my life and of myself is kind of developed has kind of developed in stages. And once in a while, you're called to make the second move, the next jump into more responsibility. And even though I think about myself as someone who was relatively pretty good at it from a very early stage, I can still see how tricky it is. You know how it goes when, for example, you meet somebody who seems to know more than you, or you read a really great book of somebody that clearly has done a lot of work and has a lot of wisdom and understanding. or going to a wonderful therapist, or finding a wonderful teacher, there is a very common automatic response, even when we are very practiced, to lean on another person's abilities and knowledge, and to lose some of your confidence in yourself as the leader, or as the main pilot here, which can have consult with others, but still is supposed to make the decisions and make the choices, decide whether to go left or right, or up or down. So, even a great teacher, it's quite known, I think he was called Lin Ji, a Zen teacher, I think he was, said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Okay, so this is a very a very extreme thing to say, but I think there's something very, very deeply truthful. We all tend to give the responsibility somehow, the knowledge, the ability, to other people. Like I was in this dream hoping to have the responsible person be the captain, but the dream showed me very clearly that that wasn't the thing that's going to happen here, and not the thing that would be right for me. I needed to grow through experiencing it, and to manage to be the captain myself. And when we're talking about this idea of killing the Buddha, it's exactly the same thing. It's we're not talking, of course, of any real violence, but whether it's your partner, or your husband, or your wife, or your teacher, or whatever, who you've to some extent given power to and responsibility to, then in a way, in a symbolic way, you're supposed, if you want to continue growing, to kill him or her, and to regain your power. Another thing I think is worth mentioning here regarding this dream is that there is always a possibility of going further than we know is possible, both in general and for us personally. And this decision, first of all, to not know what's possible for us, is really nourishing. If I say, I have no idea what I'm capable of, let's see. Instead of being sure that I'm incapable of certain things and kind of buying into this way of thinking. So this ability to not know, and to agree to stretch ourselves and our abilities and our belief system, and our belief in ourselves and in our process. And through that, and it can sometimes be a kind of difficult experience, because sometimes it actually can feel like stretching, and you really can feel the resistance of many parts in you to this growth, or to this movement towards more abilities, more responsibilities, and so on and so forth. And it's a real growth. It doesn't necessarily feel like that. It can feel easy and comfortable, but sometimes it does. And again, this is a choice that we can choose to make, and that helps our work. I say, I'm willing to stretch. It has to be the right amount of stretch. I won't tear. So it has to be with consideration and compassion towards myself in general, and those parts inside me that may be afraid, or resistant or need more support in order for the stretch to be possible without them panicking or becoming very upset or sad, or things like that. So agreeing to stretch and to grow, and yet having enough compassion with ourselves to do it in a way that our system can cope with. Okay. I'm trying to see if there was anything else I wanted to talk about here. Yes, I think two things maybe will be kind of a good way to wrap it up for now. One is this thing that I call leading your life or living your life from the aware I. Now, the aware I, as I've said before, is, for me, is both a process. It's an ongoing process, but it's also, for me, a state of being. And it's not a state of being of only observing things. It's a state of being that has to do with observing things, but it's a state of being that for me is a very active state of being, meaning it's where I choose from how to react to things, whether to go left or to go right, whether to drink coffee or tea, whether to agree to further growth, or to say, no, I don't agree. I don't want to grow more. It's a place from which I live my freedom, really, my freedom of choice. And it's the place from which I can accept all my parts, all my selves, all my sub-personalities, whatever they are, but also I'm not identified with any of them. So what that means really is that the more I practice being in the aware I and accepting more and more of myself without being swallowed by my parts in a way and identifying with them, the more I'm really a kind of captain sailing my ship or my plane or my car or whatever, or my carriage and horses. Yeah, and I have my hands on the wheel or on the whatever you need to fly a plane. Okay. And all the parts are passengers in a way, and they can ask for things, and they can give me advice, and they can help, or they can just enjoy the ride, whatever. And they can be very happy about what I choose to do, or less happy about what I choose to do. And I listen to all of them, but I am the pilot and I'm the navigator. I choose what to do and how to do it. And so I keep the responsibility in a very, you could call it a very central and clear place. And I don't allow the various parts in me to snatch the wheel and to go wherever they think we should go. So that was one thing I wanted to remind us. Another thing is that in my life, and I see it happening for others as well, there is something that is really, really helpful for me. And this is my choice from free will to trust that I have more abilities than I know. Okay? So it's a choice. You know, you don't, you know, nobody comes and gives you this in writing. You know, you have to sort of it's a kind of game that you may be playing with yourself, and you're saying, okay, I choose to believe that I can be and do more than I know. And once I do that, it's as if I'm, I don't know, it's like I'm preparing something, or I'm beginning to open a door or create a new pathway on which I can walk, and in which I can be revealed to myself. Okay. Anybody want to comment or anything like that right now? Okay. So we'll stop for a second and we'll meet again in a few seconds, and we'll see if there are any comments or questions, and continue. So hold on.